We're going to talk today about protecting your real estate from lawsuits, and we're talking about both your income rental property and your personal residence. We're going to show some illustrations, how to hold title, and how to protect that asset from being taken away from you if somebody decides to sue you. I've been in the asset protection business for over 25 years. We have over 40,000 clients. We've helped people save literally hundreds of millions of dollars from being taken away on lawsuits. And we're going to talk about real estate asset protection right now. Okay, we'll start off by talking about how to protect your investment property from lawsuits. You'll notice that this house with a dollar sign represents a rental property, an investment property, an income property, whether it's a residential or business income property. And each property, in turn, is placed into this tool called a land trust. A land trust is a document that we create that has the address of the property, possibly the legal description, and it enables you to hold that property privately without the public knowing who owns it. So it gives you some privacy of ownership. It doesn't tie back necessarily to any person or company that represents the owner. So that gives you privacy so that when somebody looks your name up in the public records, nothing shows up under your name because all your properties are in land trust instead of your name personally. Okay? Now the beneficiary, the one who receives the benefits, that could be you. But in most cases, because the beneficiary receives liability, we put a limited liability company in place as the beneficiary, and you own the limited liability company. Now, the limited liability company is the beneficiary of the trust. It provides lawsuit protection if somebody on that property is sued. It provides asset protection. It can give some tax benefits. There are some estate planning benefits. When you die, it can go to the children, especially if that LLC is owned in a living trust, which we'll talk about next. Now, you want to ideally limit the liability per limited liability company. It's ideal to have one limited liability company per piece of real estate. That way, if there's any lawsuit on that one property, it won't take everything associated with it. So one LLC per property is really the ideal situation. Now, the living trust owns the LLC. The living trust is the serving tray upon which the assets are passed to beneficiary upon death. It avoids probate, the expensive process and procedure of transferring assets from the deceased to others that often involves expensive court fees and attorney's fees. And that is all eliminated for the most part and controls who gets what upon death. And there's some possible huge estate tax reduction as well. Now, this little illustration on the left, little rectangle, represents a second limited liability company, preferably set up in Wyoming, possibly Nevada. And that LLC records a big fat mortgage against the property. That way, that gives the appearance that it is mortgaged to the hilt. And this is a limited liability company that you own privately. And if need be, we have another a bank that can actually buy that mortgage from you for actual cash and then deposit that into an international trust, which we talk about in another video. We call that equity stripping. So all the equity is stripped out of the property, so that makes it a lot less attractive if somebody is thinking about suing you, and they'll think twice because they'll see they're really not getting anything. Okay? Now, asset protection of your personal residence. Personal residence is in a land trust. The land trust, again, gives you privacy of ownership. If somebody is thinking about suing you, maybe you rear-ended them with your car or some other situation where they're thinking about suing you, first thing that an attorney will do who's thinking about taking the case on a contingent fee basis will look in the public records to see what you own. If nothing shows up in the public records, it's very unlikely that attorney will take the case on a contingent fee basis. So that decreases the chance of you being sued by having your assets owned privately in a land trust. We're talking about your personal residence in this case. Now, we do not make the LLC the beneficiary of the land trust of your personal residence because that could affect some tax benefits. So in this case, the beneficiary of your land trust is either you personally or a living trust that acts as an estate planning tool that serves your assets to your heirs upon your passing. Okay? Now, next, you'll see this limited liability company can record a great big fat mortgage against the property. That can be liquidated and sold to a bank that we have internationally that will put that asset or the cash, the proceeds from that asset, into a you can't touch it account in an international trust until it's time to sell or you ask them to take the mortgage away. Okay, so that's another advanced tool called equity stripping. And another big benefit of having the limited liability company in place, not only can that absorb the liability if somebody sues when it's having to do with a property, there's also asset protection provisions so that when you're sued personally, whatever you own in that limited liability company, there are provisions in the law that may protect you from losing the company and anything in it, including the real estate. So the LLC can protect you from a lawsuit coming from the house or coming at you personally and taking that real estate away from you. So that's a summary of asset protection of real estate. Keep in mind that was not meant to cover all the yeah, buts, and what ifs, and this is not to be considered legal advice for that seek an attorney. This is meant to provide some helpful information. And for more information, you can give us a call at 1-888-444-4812. Visit companiesinc.com and talk to a consultant. We have some whole trained staff of consultants that can help you protect your assets and get answers to your questions that you might have, and we'll be very glad to help you. So thanks for watching.